This demo by Analyst will introduce you to how you can set up Sporact, the Security Incident Response Case Management software. During this demo, we will show you how to set up your Sporact software. Let's start with orienting you from the Case Settings view. Setting an impact as critical, high, medium, low, etc. are used along with priority. By default, you will have the settings high, medium and low. However, when you feel the need to have more impacts, you could just click on New Impact and add an impact setting of your choice. Priorities. By default, the software provides you P1, P2 and P3. However, if you want, you could add more priorities you would like to have, or even rename them to something of your choice. You can set the SLA for each priority and track the SLA to either closure of the case or for first response. You could also have a hybrid SLA tracking, like P1 can be tracked to closure and P2, P3 can be tracked to first response, or vice versa. While you add the priority, set your impact level that you just added in the previous setting. Categories. As you see here, we have already provided a default list of categories and its corresponding severity level. You have the flexibility to change the severity for each category of your choice, or even simply add a new category if you don't see what you want to have in there. Each of the categories can further be customized to have a list of fields that you would want an analyst to fill in. For example, a phishing category could have a field called Email Headers, while a targeted attack category need not have it. Oh, also, you're not bound by these categories. You could simply delete them all and just create categories that are necessary for you. Closure codes. What are closure codes? These are codes that you want an analyst to tell the software that when he closes a case, what is the reason he's closing the case as. It could be like lack of information, or even remediated. Like any other setting, this also comes with a default set of closure codes. You have the flexibility to add more as you see fit. Alert sources. This helps an overall reporting view to help you understand where are your maximum sources of alerts coming from, what type of alerts this could be, or even if you're simply generating false positives from a particular source and what action you might want to take accordingly. There is a list of default alert sources included. You could add more sources that you think your alert could originate from. If automated to insert alerts, a source will be automatically added in here if not present. Moderators. What are moderators? To explain that, let's understand why is it needed. Sporact uses some machine learning inside of it. In this scenario, Sporact analyzes the first responses of analysts using various methods to understand if the response to the case was quality or quantity. Here, quality means writing a good report of the case, like had persistence here, had a service started, contacted an IP that does not exist anymore, etc. While quantity means waiting for a user, etc. There may be times when a senior analyst might think that a response by one of the analysts could be quality, while Sporact marked it quantity, or a response is quantity, while Sporact marked it quality. So now an assigned moderator can mark those appropriately quality or quantity, and the machine learning relearns such type of responses accordingly. Reason templates. Reason templates are simple mechanisms to autofill regular monotonous capture of reasons that an analyst wants to fill while either closing a case or putting a case to waiting mode, etc. You just click on the reason and it gets filled. Then the analyst can just start typing in the rest, just to make typing and writing faster. Now moving on to the security view. Let's start with group permissions. By default, there are two permission groups, admin and analyst. The admin group has all the permission levels, while an analyst permission has just case creation and modification permissions. While keeping the default, you can add more group permissions that you want to have. These are more like roles. You could add pseudo-admins, senior analysts, etc., and assign granular permissions you would like each of these groups to have. Now you can move on to the groups and create your groups here, and assign the newly created group permission to each of the groups that you create. Once you have created the group permissions and groups, and assigned the permissions accordingly, you can move on to creating the users. Users. Now you can create your users and map them to groups you want them to be in. You can assign a user to multiple groups too. When you go about deleting a user, the user gets disabled and you can see the user under Disabled Users. This is to help maintain the integrity of the cases. This will indeed still free up the user count on your license. For example, if you are licensed for 10 users and you have used up the 10 user count, and if you delete 2 users, these 2 users will get disabled, which then allows you to add 2 new users. Allowed IPs. Here you can add IP addresses from where you want this case management software to be accessed from. Anywhere else outside of these IPs will simply result in a 403 forbidden page. This helps in restricting the access to a team or a group. In case the allowed IPs is empty, then it means anyone can access this software. This is very useful when you are using the cloud instance. You could just specify your organization IP address and it can be accessible only by your organization. NDA. Here you have a default non-disclosure agreement. You can modify this to your organization. Sporact helps in creating private cases too. Private cases are more or less like TLP red cases. Private cases are cases that are accessible only to analysts who have permission to a case. The creator of a case can mark the case private and invite members to it. These members will see this NDA and, unless accepted, cannot get to the case. This NDA is similar to an attorney-client privilege agreement and should keep access and knowledge to such cases confidential. Moving on to the automation view. Stalled cases. Here you specify a duration of an untouched case before it becomes stalled. So if you specify 2 days, then if a case is not updated at all for 2 days, it gets into stalled state and begins to report under stalled cases. This helps analysts or senior analysts to prioritize these cases to help achieve some kind of decision and take actions appropriately. Overdue emails. Here you specify how often you want emails to reach your inbox if a case is overdue from SLA, so that you don't keep getting emails every minute. Reporting. In this setting, you can specify who needs to get reports on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. This will automatically email the specified users and groups to receive these reports. API. With the help of our REST API, you can integrate any tool you would like to create cases automatically based on their alerts. The API page has the fields that it takes, and also examples on how one should send over an alert using the API. Every time an API creates a case, it will be reported as system-created case. You could set it to assign to an initial group so that the user from the group can pick up the case and start working it. You can regenerate your API keys as and when needed for your reasons. That was fun setting up your Sporact case management system. The System tab gives you all information about the resources used, like the memory, CPU, and most importantly, the storage used. The administrator will also get alerts when the storage used has reached 75% of the disk space. Licensing. Here it gives you all the details about your license, the company license to, license key, and the number of users it is licensed for. Help. The help screen gives information about all the shortcuts that are available in the Sporact software and any other help that might be available.